Greetings and welcome to the Dr. Dave Vlog Series. It's Wednesday, October 1st. Welcome, October 2025. On Wednesdays, we talk about emotional well-being and relationships. So, are you a genius? Not in terms of intellectual acuity, but rather in terms of emotional acuity. Exceptionally sharp sensibilities of emotional awareness and understanding. So the concept of emotional intelligence refers to how adept someone is at perceiving and understanding and managing emotions, both theirs and that of others. So think of it as having an emotional IQ, right, an EQ, as opposed to just having a high IQ. So a person with emotional intelligence, a high EQ, is skilled at navigating social environments, building relationships, handling interpersonal interactions, and coping with difficulties. The emotionally intelligent genius, then, is someone who doesn't lose their cool or composure no matter what the circumstances. They're exceptionally gifted at coping with stress, both in terms of their own responses and in terms of helping other people to respond effectively as well. So here's my rather bold and optimistic claim, perhaps. Of all the possible ways in which different people might be geniuses, emotional intelligence, I think, is the area that's the most malleable and capable of being developed, even to the point of, if you will, genius. So let me ask you 5 questions, and how would you respond? Just off the cuff, very naturally. Do you remain composed when under pressure? Do you actively manage your stress levels particularly well? Can you detect, perhaps even prevent, a budding conflict that might be emerging? Do you consider yourself to be a person who has high self-control? And are you highly sensitive to detecting the distress that others might be experiencing? Well, even if you answered no to a few or to all of the above questions, you're not necessarily a lost cause emotionally. You can develop and build upon these different skills to enhance your awareness and management. And so you too could have a high EQ. It's something that you could actually develop in time with a bit of work and so on. So here are the specific characteristics, if you will, of emotional intelligence, or signs that you can look for in yourself and others. And these would be the areas that you could work on. So starting with self-awareness. Emotional intelligence begins with emotional awareness, logically. And self-awareness is the first form that most people develop. And that's to say that you are well aware then of your emotions, your behaviors, the responses, the triggers, the patterns, and you can basically keep a check on yourself. And then self-knowledge. Self-awareness grows into self-knowledge. Self-knowledge is first built as we reflect on ourselves and our personal characteristics, our traits and our habits and our patterns, and as we form a deeper awareness then of who we are as human beings, including our thoughts, our strengths, our weaknesses, our values, even our integrity, people can then more accurately assess themselves. And if you're able to do that, you are more emotionally intelligent. And you have to be, of course, empathetic to be emotionally intelligent. It's the awareness of people's conditions, their feelings. It's our ability to perceive and understand and sense others' emotions, their feelings, their moods, their perspectives. And it requires, in part, social awareness and how perceptive we are of different types of social cues, body language, and so on. But it also requires a willingness and ability then to consider someone else's interests, stepping outside of ourselves, if you will. To have a high EQ, you have to have impulse control. It's a sign of high emotional intelligence that involves your ability then to control, regulate, and manage your emotions and impulses, and then ultimately your behavior. People with good impulse control can perform optimally and much better in most social environments, typically avoiding awkward situations, delaying gratification. Usually results in better decision making, and you can manage your emotional triggers and maintain your emotional balance more effectively. You also want to look for control over your thoughts and mental state as well. So people with strong emotional intelligence have learned then to exert some degree of control over their trains of thought, over their mental states, can sort of self-regulate by placing what's happening in context and avoid sort of getting swept away in the moment, lost at sea in untethered emotions. And that's related to the next idea, that is taking a moment to think. So someone with a high EQ or good emotional intelligence traits doesn't just spout off. They're able to pause, reflect, and compose themselves. It involves checking our emotions and our impulsive reactions and becoming aware then of emotional triggers. And it also demands, of course, being emotionally aware of others. And then here's something that you might be able to do, but if you're not able to do this, you really want to consider it, developing it regardless of your EQ in the long run. And that is the ability to apologize. So emotionally intelligent people can and do apologize for their mistakes, their errors. Their apologies are sincere, though, heartfelt, meaningful. They aren't dismissive or faked or just filled with gaslighting. So apologizing and meaning it, again, requires empathy and self-awareness, some courage and confidence and maturity. And there can be difficult emotions that you'll have to cope with as you have to swallow your pride, perhaps. Again, acknowledging errors, admitting them to other people. But we all have to do this from time to time. And again, another trait would be being authentic. Personal authenticity is a characteristic of emotionally intelligent people as well. And so authenticity, again, begins with self-awareness and self-understanding. You have to be open and genuine and true to yourself. You also have to be good with feedback. An emotionally intelligent person offers constructive feedback, but at the same time is open to receiving such feedback from others. Those who are emotionally intelligent understand how to give constructive feedback. They're willing to do so. They're also willing to hear from others, to understand how to manage emotions, and when the feedback is negative and harsh and non-constructive, how do you deal with that? How do you respond? Do you lose your cool? Okay, so that's another. And then a couple more. To be emotionally intelligent requires means having thicker skin, if you will. One reason why is that someone who's aware of other people's emotions and psychology understand that you don't necessarily always have to take things personally. And people with high EQs are emotionally stable and grounded and self-confident. And plus, a high EQ brings increased situational awareness, impulse control, and navigational skills. So someone with a high EQ might decide that someone else's poor behavior isn't worth their time and might simply choose to redirect their energies elsewhere. And then finally, adaptability. Emotional intelligence, like awareness, or traits like emotional awareness and resilience and self-regulation ultimately lead to adaptability. And so adaptability is vital in relational situations and in handling different types of environmental changes, because we're all going to be subjected to them from time to time. And so folks with a high EQ can adapt their social approaches to suit the situation, to suit other people's needs. And they can adjust to changes better and then understand how to respond to new environments in healthier and, again, more adaptive ways. And as mentioned early on, this is something that I think we can all develop. Right? Remember how we used to respond as children. How did you handle things? And then as teens, what was your emotional intelligence? What was it like back then? And then as we grew into adulthood, we hopefully continued to develop our EQs. And that process should continue then, or can continue, throughout one's life. It's kind of like our noses and our ears. EQ is the one thing that can, at least in principle, can continue to grow throughout our lifetimes. And all three of those things, right? Our noses, our ears, and our EQ, they're all located on or inside of our heads. All right, so that's it for today. Until next time, may you and yours continue to create peace in your lives, nurture love in your hearts, and dole out hugs in abundance. Peace.